Hello, hi. I'm gonna make this tips video for the this is for the Abahbounce in No to get through this egg wall when you're doing cave skip on foot. I'm actually learning it myself right now, but I have a few pointers that could help other people learning it. So the first thing is turn on debug if you haven't already got debug on. It's super useful all the time when practicing. Ask in the Discord if you don't know the code or Google it. Like Jack 3 cheat mode, debug mode, whatever, you should get the code. But then, specifically for this trick, what we want to do is plug a second controller into the second port. This is helpful quite a lot of the time outside of this trick anyway. But on that second controller, if you press L3 and X, you give yourself ammo. It's not useful in this case, but that's just for other tricks in the game that could be useful. Gives you ammo, eco, orbs, gems, all of that. But also, if you press L3 plus triangle, it brings up this menu. I should mention also, if you don't have two controllers, you can unplug your main controller and plug it into the second port, and then do this, and then you'll have to plug it back into the first port to be able to continue playing. So you can still do this with one controller. But anyway, it brings up this text, and the bit we care about, if I use Peebo Banana here, is this cont default. That's continue point, that's Naughty Dog's way of saying checkpoint. Default. So we have the default checkpoint, which is whatever you get if you go into free cam and then come back out of it. It gives you that default checkpoint. So the checkpoint we're trying to get if I free cam inside the cave is there. You see it just changed to desert nest exit. That is the one we're trying to get. So if you're practicing this trick with this text up and you see that, then you're good. And then you use free cam like that. Just go in and out of free cam and it will reset it back to default. So the reason why that's useful is it means if you ever do the Abahbounce and you want to see whether you got it and it will get you inside the cave, you just read what it says up there and that'll tell you. You don't have to pause and do a restart mission or something and risk like spawning miles away. So if I just try and demo that here, there you go. You see it just changed to desert continue cont desert nest exit. That means if I were to restart mission, which I'll do just to show it off, but again, you don't have to do this because of this text. It's going to spawn me inside the cave, which is exactly what we want. And then you would just, carry on. So then I go in and out of free cam to reset it back to default, and then you just keep practicing. And yeah, you never have to restart mission when you're practicing with this text up. It's quite a time save. Now, I'll keep it up, I suppose. As for the actual Abahbounce, I have a few tips, and these tips are not really to help you. I don't know if they'll help you get better at it, but they will point out exactly what you're doing wrong in each situation. So the first thing that you can do wrong, if I have the input display here, so pay attention to that, but what you need to do is you need to do a ground pound on this like sloped bit of rock, and you need to hold sort of like up left. It sort of depends which way Jack's facing, but you're trying to get him to stop moving. Right, so you see on the input display I am doing a ground pound and I'm holding up left. Now the first mistake you could be making is you're holding up left for too long, because one of the things about an Abahbounce, which is this trick I've been attempting to do, that's an Abahbounce. The thing about an Abahbounce is you have to be stationary when you try it, or very close to stationary. So holding up left will not let you get an Abahbounce here. But if you're sliding down the wall, you also can't get an Abahbounce. So you need something in the middle. You need to hold up left for just long enough so that when the Abahbounce, like when the window happens for you to press X and do an Abahbounce, Jack is pretty much stationary. And that's how we do it on a sloped surface. I hope that made sense. Anyway, so if you're holding up left too long, this is what it looks like every time. Jack will just immediately go stand still like that if you're holding up left for too long. So if you ever see that, you're holding up left for too long, you need to let go sooner. If you don't hold up left enough, this will happen. He will sort of go, he will either immediately go into a crouch, or he will like slowly rotate and then go into a crouch. So you see I'm letting go of up left way too early, and he's just immediately sliding down the rock. Right there I held it just long enough, and you see I got a ground pound. If you're doing it just right, you should get some kind of ground pound animation. So that's the first thing to practice, is holding up left for just the right amount of time that you get a ground pound off. Like that. So once you've got that down, you've got the timing of the first bit down, which is great. The next bit is the X press. There's only one other point to it, and it's the X press. So there's two ways you can fail that. You can either press it too early or too late. Now I'll show you too early. And again, these have very distinct looks when you do them too early or too late. So if I do it too early, that's what it looks like. You see, Jack will do a ground pound, but he'll also do like a backflip. Like that. See there, I held, both those times I held forward too long. There, I pressed X too early, and there I held forward too long again. X too early, held forward too long, X too early. So you see, when you hold when you press X too early, it actually looks exactly the same as a real Abahbounce. You just don't go up very high. You pretty much don't move at all. I'm actually struggling not to just hold forward too long. There you go. So this is what happens when you're pressing X too early, which is probably the most common mistake that people make when they do an Abahbounce. It's really easy to press X too early. Now, if you're pressing X too late, this is what it looks like. I was holding forward for too long there. That was just a good Abahbounce. Like that. So, in fact, I can just show it off by not even pressing X. This is just, I already showed this off. This is what it looks like when you don't press X fast enough. Jack does a ground pound, but he doesn't do a backflip. So if you ever see this animation, then you're not pressing X fast enough. And as I said before, if you ever see this animation, you're pressing it too early. That one there. The backflip, but you don't go high in the air. Alright? So those are the 4 ways you can fail it, basically. You can hold forward for too long, you can hold forward for not enough time, you can press X too early, or you can press it too late. Those are pretty much the 4 ways you can fail this trick. And as I hope I've shown, I'll just recap them real quick. There are 4 distinct, like, Jack does 4 distinct things. The holding up too long is this. He just stands up for a little bit, like that. Holding up for not long enough, he either immediately crouches or he like spins round. Most often I think he just immediately crouches. Yeah, sort of like that. And then if you press X too early, he does a backflip, but he doesn't go very high. Like that. It's very, again, the 2 probably most common ways to fail this are probably holding forward for too long and pressing X too early. So, you know, try and let go of the stick earlier than you think and press X later than you think. And that's how you get it. And then, yeah, the late X press, as I showed you before, is the same as if you don't press it at all. Jack just does a ground pound but doesn't do a backflip. Just like that. Alright? So that was a bit of a mess, but I hope that at least helps you like decipher when you get it wrong, why you got it wrong, because that is usually a critical part of learning anything, is when you get it wrong, figuring out what the mistake was. And then that's what an ideal one looks like. And if you get one that hits the checkpoint, it'll say Cont Desert Nest Exit, and then you just reset it to back to default and you go again. Alright, that's all.